Hey, what's up guys? So today's video is all about the TOONME challenge. This is blowing up all over the internet. It's on Instagram, it's on Facebook. Basically the idea is you take a photo of yourself, split it down the center, and draw one side of your face as a cartoon. I thought this would be a lot of fun to try, and why not make a video out of it? So keep watching. Right guys, let's go ahead and start the actual drawing. As always, I'm using the iPad Pro 12.9 inch. This is a first gen model. First gen Apple Pencil. The app is Procreate. Brush I'm going to start out with is the standard inker. This is part of my brush set that you can download off of Gumroad. I will link it in the description below. Probably switch the brush a little bit later once I start doing some other stuff, so I will let you guys know what I'm doing there. I'm going to kind of use some fast forward time lapse on certain areas of this video to make it a little bit shorter. Canvas size 4,000 by 4,000. I just did a square one since we're going to throw this up on Instagram later. And then I've got the picture that we're going to use. Took that earlier, loaded it in, so we are good to go. As you can see, that's the only layer right now. But I'm going to go ahead and make a new layer by hitting the plus button up here. And then I want to kind of break this down the center so we get the switch between the photo and what we're drawing. So to do that, I'm just going to draw a black line in here. Kind of want the nose to be part of the drawing. Do that completely. Then I'm holding that down just to kind of lock this in a little bit more, make it a little bit straighter. So there we go. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to duplicate this. You'll see why here in a second. So I'm going to duplicate that layer, turn off the bottom one here, and just go in on this one, and I'm just going to erase. Now that I've got that done, I'm going to go ahead and turn back on this bottom layer, and I'm going to drop the opacity. So that's going to let us see over here on the right hand side. Now a lot of these TOONME challenges I've seen on Instagram, you'll see a lot of tracing. I don't want to trace. I'm just going to use this as kind of the guidelines for where everything goes. I think kind of just adding in your own flair and not doing that full-on tracing makes these a lot more interesting. So you'll see here as I start to block this in, I made a new layer. Actually, no, I didn't. I need to make a new layer. So this black one is there. This is going to be my sketch layer. And you'll see that I'm just going to kind of rough in exactly where all this stuff goes. And I'm going full on off the rails with this. I'm going to do Frankenstein's monster. That's basically our sketch layer then. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and make a new layer on top. This is going to be our lines layer. There we go. And let me go to the sketch layer, and I want to turn down the opacity on this so that I can actually draw the lines on top. Once again, I'm still using that standard inker brush. And let's jump in here. Okay, so that is the inking. That is done. So we're going to go ahead and turn off our sketch layer now. We've got that turned off. And let's go ahead, actually let's just delete that. And then let's combine the sketch layer, or the ink layer, and that line going down the center. So that's basically what we're left with now. So we can go ahead and start to color in. I'm gonna go ahead and delete this bottom layer as well. We don't need that any longer. So made a new layer here. I'm gonna drop this below. Gonna set the ink layer as reference. And this is gonna allow us to just drag and drop the colors in on this layer here. So let's go ahead and start to do that now. Now I want this lightning bolt to kind of glow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this layer, and this bottom one, I'm going to select that. Well, let me choose this first. I'm going to select white up here. I'm going to select that layer. I'm going to fill that layer in. Now we're going to go up to our adjustments. We're going to go to Gaussian blur, slide this, kind of gives that glow look to it. Some other cool pens that you can use as well. If you go to the brush settings here, you can also choose luminance, and there's some really cool pens that'll kind of give you that effect too, but just wanted to do that by hand this time. So now that we are done there, let's go ahead and start to actually add in some shadows. So I'm going to go ahead, pinch these together now. And actually, let's pinch that together so it's all on one. And let's go ahead and make a new layer. Let's go down to black, and this is going to be our shadows layer. And I start out just going in solid, get a decent area filled in, and then I'll adjust my opacity after I've got that filled in, like so. That's going to allow us to go around and do shadows really, really quick. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add some kind of texture in here to the beard and to the hair. And I showed this in a previous video using the selection tool. This is a really cool, fast way to do this, and I'll show you how. So we're on the shadows layer. Once again, we're going to freehand selection tool up here. And then we're going to start just kind of dropping in some really sharp lines here. Got to trace around here and basically drop in the color, and it'll fill in this entire selection. There we go. See how cool that looks? It just builds it up really, really fast, gives you nice sharp lines using that selection tool, and just looks like a pretty neat way to do it. So let's change the opacity and go a little bit darker on here. There we go. Let's do the same thing up here. Connect it, drop it in. There we go. And if you miss any parts there, just go back in with your pencil or your brush and get those back in there. Get this one a little bit sharper. There we go. Let's go ahead and do the same thing at the top here with the hair. So I kind of want the lines coming around the way that the hair goes over here. There we go. Very cool stuff. so the shadows are done. Like I said, I want to go in here and do some really bright, cool yellow highlights. Just have some really strong yellow spots on here. So we're going to make a new layer. This is going to be our highlight layer. And we're just going to go around here just like we would with the regular white highlights and just throw these in. So the next thing I want to do is go back in and add some white highlights as well. So we're going to do that to the hair. So I'm going to make a new layer here, just switch this to white, and then go back to the freehand selection tool. There we go. So this eye kind of looks a little bit plain, so I want to play around with that a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and switch brushes now. I'm going to make a new layer to begin with. I'm going to switch brushes over to the airbrush. I don't usually use the airbrush too much, but on the eyes, this is something you can really kind of use to build them up and make them look a little bit more three-dimensional. So I'm going to get a just a good flow of a circle here, or a half circle, curve, whatever you want to call it. And let's go ahead and adjust the opacity now. Drop that down a little bit. And then I want to add a bit of a blur to it as well. There we go. So now when we pull out here, we can see it's going to give that kind of a round 3D effect almost. Let's go ahead and erase this part that kind of went outside that white. If we wanted to do that on a separate layer, we could have made that white a separate layer and set that to reference or alpha lock even, but if we want to do it on the same layer, but for right now that's going to be good enough. Now I'm going to go ahead and go to my eraser, and I'm going to go to airbrush, and I want to do some circles here. Actually, no, I think I'm going to go to just a regular brush here, because we're going to go on top of every single layer, so on top of the lines and everything. And we're just going to go ahead and switch over to white and add these kind of reflections in here. These little highlights here that's going to go over top of everything. That's really going to make that pop look really 3D. Let's go ahead and go back to our shadows layer here and just kind of build up this bottom of this. This has got a little bit of a shadow to it as well, a little bit of a dimension to it. Still using that airbrush. Alright guys, that's it for my 2020 TOONME challenge video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell for notifications so you can get alerted when I post new videos. I had a lot of fun doing this. I think you guys would have fun too, so definitely give it a try if you haven't already. Post your work online for everybody to see, or you can post it on Facebook in the Keep Creating group, the art group I made over there, which I will link in the description below. As for me, I can be found online, bjdell.com, as well as on Instagram and Twitter at bjdell. So until next time, keep creating.